guest today is Kathy Ness, General Manager and COO at Golden Door Properties. Now, when it comes to being a conscious business leader, or an active philanthropist, or a person committed to living their values, there are people who talk the talk, there are people who walk the talk, and then there are people like Kathy who literally take it to a whole other level. The Golden Door is the #1 spa in the world. It's located on 600 amazing acres in Escondido, California. They create a legendary health and wellness experience that's totally personalized, and it's an absolute favorite of celebrities and CEOs alike. And while the on-site experience may be restricted to those with means, Kathy and her team have done everything they can to make the Golden Door experience available to everyone. They have a skin, clothing, and healthy food lines that are available online and in stores around the country. Kathy hosts a speaker series where she interviews the top thought leaders from around the world on the most interesting topics of the day. These are free for anyone to watch, but this is still just the beginning. The Golden Door gives 100% of its net profits to charity. 100%. Their mission is to end child abuse. It gives me chills just even saying that. A company that's so focused, an organization so focused on their mission and living it in such a powerful way. All of this is after nearly 30 years at the top of the fashion industry, where she ran several major brands, ran a huge public company. She sits on many boards, a few of which include the Center for Responsible Travel, the Sustainable Business Council. She's an advisor for the 5 Gyres Foundation. And it must be mentioned that Kathy is working tirelessly on environmental issues as well, and we'll get into that. I am literally so grateful to have you as a guest.
And
Kathy,
I am
welcome
so
to the
excited
podcast.
to be here today.
Oh.
And I can't wait to share some of my stories with your audience. That's the most important, is sharing histories of things that we've all gone through and how did we go through it. So you can see actually new kinds of ways to think.
Yeah.
Very excited to be here.
Beautiful. We always like to start by asking how you define success. Can you bring us in?
I can give it to you simply.
Please.
When you are a leader of a company and you look across the table at your executives, your youngest executives, your newest executives, your senior executives, and you're seeing them all grow, and you're seeing them all doing roles that they could have never imagined in their life, jobs, making broth, creating new experience for guests, getting promoted, getting raises, getting bonuses, seeing their families get to grow. What's better than that? That's the #1 job of a leader today. It's not about professing about the leader. It's about the culture you build and the people you build, because they're the next generation. That is my joy every single day.
And you must see that a lot in a lot of different ways. I mean, you literally run an organization that creates transformation for people on a daily basis.
Absolutely, and my employees have to be transformed as well.
Right, so that's what I was gonna say, like, this isn't just one person, this has to be an entire team. How do you?
It has to be authentic.
Yeah.
Because people are smart and they can feel things. If it's just sort of a business to polish you and shine you for the 2 minutes you may be there, then we can't actually change your life. And our goal is much like we talk about the children, is we transform people's lives every single week, and I transform my employees' lives to be able to allow them to give to the next person.
So how does that?
It's a circle, really.
It is, and I want to kind of dive into it a little bit. How do you do that? How does that start? How does the circle begin?
Well, it starts out slow. Whenever you go into a company, this company was a turnaround in a way, very much a turnaround. Whenever you go into any company as a new leader, and I've been there 8 years, so I'm not new anymore, but you have to assess the organization and determine what are the #1 needs of an organization. And every #1 needs of every organization is the right personnel, and the motivated personnel, happy personnel. I mean, how many people go to work every day and are really miserable?
Wow.
You just can't stand getting out of bed and going to that job. I would never want anybody to feel like that. Because let's face it, after you subtract 8 hours of sleeping and 8 hours of working, what's left of your day? That's 16 hours. So you have to be happy in those 16 hours to propel the happiness within yourself.
But even if people start, like they choose a job, they hope that they can be happy, they're often, that goes down over time.
Right.
If it's not for the leaders setting an environment, how do you?
Well, you have to notice. You have to notice, what do people like? I mean, not everybody's a square peg in a round hole. I mean, and I'm going to jump ahead to a question you're going to have later. I mean, me coming from the world of fashion, even if I was at the top of my career, walking into hospitality, there's probably not a single hotel who would hire somebody out of fashion. But what a mistake is, think about it. In fashion, we have to think about you 2 years in advance. We have to predict how you're going to feel and how you're going to feel about that jacket 2 years in advance. We have to be right 85% of the time. So when you think about hospitality and the personnel of hospitality, it's even more because we're inside of you, we're not just on the outside of you. We have to also affect the inside of you. And that comes from heart and soul. You can't fake that. It has to be real.
So we're going to come back to this quite a bit, but can you go, how did that happen? So you were
I was
in fashion, and then
it's such a great, I was asked by a friend of mine in an organization called YPO, you may have heard of it. And she asked me to go down and help the owner, who was a private owner. It was her first time sort of being in the situation. And I thought, absolutely, I'm gonna go to Golden Door and hang out at Golden Door this summer and help the CEO of Golden Door acclimate to running a hotel. And so I was there for a few days and I could sense what the challenges were and started to help out. And 3 weeks after I finished, she said, you should run the Golden Door. And I said, really? She said, you'd be perfect. And I thought, this is meant to be. They were incredible. We got white space, if you can imagine, making cookies and broth and planting avocados and coming up with all kinds of new ideas for people. The ideas are limitless. That's when you have an organization that's happening. When every single person in the organization, from a housekeeper on up to a gardener to an executive chef, can come up with ideas of how to make people feel great. It's great. So it's been such a ride. And 2019, we're number one in the world. It's 100% because of the love and the people of the company and our incredible guests.
It does become an amazing circle and ecosystem.
It's a completely idyllic world.
You mentioned that there was a little bit of a turnaround or finding the right personnel as you come in there.
It's always a big challenge.
Yep. So can you speak a little bit to the challenge? Because I think a lot of leaders, again, would love to create.
You have to be brave. Yeah. You have to be prepared whenever you go into environments that you know where you're going. And honestly, nobody else has any idea. And it's not their fault they don't know. It's just that no one's ever showed them where they have to go. And so you have to make the assessment, can they follow your ideas or can they not follow your ideas? And that's your first big piece of business. If they're gonna hold your ideas back, then a company can't change and grow. And the company has to be able to do the best, change and grow. And you make those decisions as you go along.
How do you balance them following and being able to give wings to your ideas and also having their own?
I think it's, I see it so much. I'm so proud of my team. I think it's time and trust and the understanding that it's okay to make a mistake. Most people are so afraid to make a mistake, and I make mistakes every day, and hopefully not fatal, of course they're not, but you have to make mistakes in order to try new ideas. Not every idea is a home run, but one of those ideas could be a mega run.
Let's talk, because this comes up. A lot of leaders speak to this, and I still think it's very hard for most of us to either be willing to take the risk to make a mistake, or that the environment,
I'll
say
give you
it.
a great example.
Yeah.
A few months ago, my marketing team came to me and they wanted to do something new online. And it was having to do some branding. I forget what the actual detail was, doesn't matter. And they all came to me, and these really young, smart people who work for me. And I'm listening to them tell me, I felt like they across the table and go, I am not interested in hiring anybody to tell us what to do. We're number one in the world. I said, I have talent in this room. You guys get to go back and dig into your hearts and souls. What do you think? How do you think it should look and feel? What do you think the picture should look? What do you think the word should be? What's the message? I don't need to have some outside guy come and tell me what the message is. You guys could do it. So they all went away. And they went to do some work. They came back and they came up with the most brilliant ideas among themselves. They're young, cool, smart kids. And they are so proud. That effort alone leapfrogged into a whole other effort. Beautiful. It's just about having the trust to allow them to not be afraid if they didn't bring it to you, you couldn't get there anyway.
Yeah. And that just leads, and I think we'll come back to several of these things, but you're such a mission-driven organization. How does that play in the people that you hire or the team? How have you noticed, is that similar to other organizations you've run, or is this?
Well, I think that, especially today, I think that organizations have to have social conscience.
Yeah.
I don't think yesterday it was as much of a thing. I think somebody were involved and everybody was giving, but I think today's giving is even bigger. It's more of a social conscience. You have to really have it, you have to talk about it, you have to live and breathe it. We just started this since I've been there. Golden Door did not do this before the new ownership. And I think it was really important to say, what do you want from your company? What do you want to do? Do you want to just make money? Which is not a bad thing, you can do
Sure.
that. Do you want to make money? Do you want to sell the company? Do you want to make a difference? What's the role you want to play in society? And the message came back is that we're so important about transforming lives. Why don't we transform the lives of children who are trafficked and abused at home every single day? 71.3% of children who die of abuse are under the age of 3. 60% are raped under the age of 6. Not that you want to probably take that out.
No, but is that, and that those statistics are here, or is that worldwide?
That's America.
In the US.
Yeah, so you hear those things and think about us wanting to transform people's lives. How perfect was it for Golden Door to be able to make this decision? And it's true, we give away 100% of our net profits. It's what's left over. I write checks all Christmas and beginning of the year. And we actually give them to purposes, like we're not giving it just to a charity, we are the charity. We'll actually give it to a hire, a technical hire, a doctor hire, a piece of equipment, a building arm. We'll give it to something really specific that we can see it get done.
Yeah, I still find, like, I think it is, social consciousness is there. More and more companies are wanting to play in that space, which is great, but 100% of your net profits?
Yeah. 100%.
So I feel like you're,
we have plenty left over with what we do inside our budget with our people.
yeah. I just feel, and I don't know that that's, that still feels to me as I listen to that, is that something that other companies can really look at and be serious about, or do they have to have owners that feel like, you know what, this is our legacy?
Well, I think today you have to also be careful because marketing will sometimes take over giving, right? Like, you're gonna have a weekend and maybe you're gonna have like 10% of a weekend. I think it became more important for us because we're so authentic. We want to be super clear. If this is what we're doing, it's clear as a bell. This is what happens at the end of the day. Here's where we write our checks. You don't have to do anything. In other words, my giving isn't spurned by your shopping necessarily. Still going to do business. And I think there's a big difference. It's really our mission. It's not your mission. You may have your own philanthropic mission.
Yeah. Speak a little bit, if you could, on authenticity. You've now said that a couple
It's so important.
Yeah.
It's so important today, especially if you're going to train. How can you possibly transform someone's life? How can you make a great employee unless you're authentic? I mean, it's nothing fake about trying to be a great leader today.
How do we become more authentic? I feel like this is hard. I mean, it's a challenge. So
it's a challenge, but you have to listen. You have to listen really hard. You have to sort of understand where all your customers, where all my guests are going. And I understand where my staff is all going at all times. And you just have to listen really hard. You have to look at something and say, it just doesn't feel authentic. When it doesn't feel authentic, we just pass it up all the time.
That's that's the filter.
That is.
Is this authentic?
It's all how it feels. And because we do this every single day.
Yeah.
It's you're on the outside. I'm literally in it every day. So it's sort of easy for us to see what won't resonate for us.
But what I'm wondering and hoping that we can extrapolate for all leaders and for other organizations to say, well, maybe we're a long way from how the Golden Door is operating, but we'd like to move in the direction of being more authentic.
I'll give you another good example.
Yeah.
When I first started the company, we had a skincare business. But 50% of the skincare business was driven by a specific product that was not organic. It was inexpensive and not organic. And so I sat down at this giant meeting when I first got there. They were beside themselves. They were going to have to drop more than half of their sales. Can you imagine anybody doing this in a turnaround? I said, you have to make a decision as a company. If you really believe that what's in your products has to only be healthy with no bad ingredients, you can't just decide because you make a lot of money on this product that this one we get to live. Then it's not authentic. You have to drop that product. And we're going to take a vote. You're going to vote for it. It's not going to be me. You have to understand the direction that we're trying to go. Is we only want to sell products that will not harm your body at all. And we dropped the product. It was their vote. So it was an early decision. They said, that's how you become authentic. That's a big decision.
Yeah.
To make it early on. That's a very big decision to drop a lot of sales like that. Not very many companies would do that.
No.
They might wean it down over years. But no, how could we be authentic and launch a new product if the old product was still dominating? And it was bad.
You know, it sounds obvious as you lay it out.
It was so obvious to me.
Were there some, can you share a challenge as you were moving the organization into maybe full authenticity, was there any?
There's only one word, change is hard.
Okay.
Change is really hard.
Yeah.
Change is hard for people who don't know where you're going, and change is hard for people who've never been there before. So you have to be very patient as a leader, sometimes impatient, because you have to get there. Your job is to get there. But at the end of the day, the team that's sort of hanging with you and moving with you is the right team always. Because they're the ones that got you there.
It'll ultimately.
Always.
Yeah.
It always evolves itself, and the right people are always in the right spots.